Hey there and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hearken into horror, and plunge into peril. If you think scalding hot water is sexy, well, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I'm the detective who had the night off.
I'm Nico, and you see I have 12 options here. I'm going to go with I'm a dick sorcerer.
Oh,
Well, I'm Dan, and I'm salty that this is our third Halloween, but only second Halloween film we've watched.
Same.
Well, you're kind of cluing him in, Dan, but as you know, Nico, and as our listeners know, today is Halloween. We would like so much to thank everyone who's come with us on this ride throughout the month of October, looking at all the Hammer horror classics, bonus episodes, finding the Yeti, starter guide to horror, all of that in between. Thank you so much for coming along with us on this ride, and we appreciate everyone. That being said, this is Halloween. This is the pinnacle. Dan, what are we watching today?
Well, we kind of had to do it. It's Halloween, so we have to watch Halloween. So we are on Halloween 2.
You're goddamn right. This one was directed by Rick Rosenthal, starring Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Donald Pleasance, R.I.P., as Dr. Loomis, Dick Warlock as Michael Myers, Charles Cyphers, not quite like that, as Sheriff Lee, perhaps, Lance Guest as Jimmy. I know that's not a guess. I know that for a fact.
Oh,
And Gloria Gifford as Nurse Alves. My God, there is a lot of fucking consonants in these names. Well, this movie literally starts off right after the first movie. I guess kind of technically right at the end because there's like a little bit of recap. But anyhow, Dr. Loomis shoots Michael Myers, pew, 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 and saves Laurie. He then looks to where Michael's body should be, but he's gone. Wow, wow, wow. As it turns out, Michael literally just got up and went to someone else's house for a knife, then went right back to killing teenagers in the local area. Shock and awe. Also, Laurie gets taken to the hospital, and Dr. Loomis goes off with the local cops to try and find Michael. In a really interesting series of events, this leads to a local teen getting run over, exploded, and burned to death, which had nothing at all to do with Michael Myers. That was entirely on Dr. Loomis and the
went
cops.
from 0 to 100
yeah,
so fast.
It was like, we gotta find him. Is that Michael? Oh shit! You better hope that was Michael. But it
and then they
wasn't.
just fucking leave.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, Michael's sighted over here. Peace.
Are we ever going to find out about this fucking kid? Nope. It's fine.
They literally find out by random chance. Some other kid tells them about it. But Dan, this all is happening. What's going on with Laurie?
Well, she is in the hospital now, and her stay doesn't start off too hot. Her
But
attending
boy, howdy, it's going to get there.
Her attending physician is drunk and trying to sober up, and she gets put under against her own wishes, even though it was kind of medically necessary.
Okay.
Things get a bit better, though, when she meets Jimmy, who's a simp, and he's one of the EMTs who took her to the hospital. Even though he doesn't really know her that well, he's simping pretty hard and will do anything to protect her now. And that's a good thing because, man, things are going to go south real quick.
Nico, when are things going to go south?
Immediatamente, my friend. Things start right as Michael shows up to the hospital and starts murking like fucking everyone left and right at a snail's pace, but still quickly, because it's a movie. An EMT and a nurse head into a hot tub pool kind of thing to boink, and Michael gives them both the boink. The boink.
Wow.
What's wrong, Nico? Keep reading, dude. We gotta do it, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. That doctor needle to the eye. The local baddie nurse Alvis, she gets an intricate needle to the arm with a tube so that she slowly bleeds out, which totally wouldn't work, but just going right past that. Dr. Loomis and a local cop head over to school because someone saw Michael, and they discover that someone has graffitied Samhain, aka Sam Hain, if you're an uneducated fuck. Just kidding. We love you. We understand. We didn't understand until a few years ago ourselves. We all get it. they find that graffiti on a chalkboard. Loomis's colleague shows up and says that he has to come back with her and a U.S. Marshal to the local asylum. And he's not allowed to look into Michael or the case anymore.
Well, that's not very nice. But on the way back to the asylum, Dr. Loomis's colleague basically tells him there was a sealed file that for like the last 20-something years that he was looking after Michael Myers, he was never allowed to see. But now she knows. And it turns out, Michael Myers is Laurie's brother. Fuck, I knew it. No, I really didn't.
Oh, no.
Loomis then is like really worked up about this. So he pulls his gun on the marshal. And the three of them head back to the hospital.
It's a wild move.
Yeah.
He's like, y'all, what do y'all do? Give a warning shot? And then he fucking just shoots the window out. I was like, yo, okay. So three of them then go to the hospital to save Laurie. Meanwhile, Laurie is like trying and failing to escape when Loomis and company arrive. Loomis lets off real gunshots in Michael, but he just gets back up and kills the marshal. Also, audience, Nico wrote something highly inappropriate that I'm not going to repeat. But just know that I'm an astute host and would never say something like that.
Yeah,
Dan,
you fucking would.
Yeah, you definitely would.
Dan, why don't you wrap this up? Because if you don't, guess what you bust?
Well, now, Laurie and Dr. Loomis have a final confrontation with Michael, where they lure him into a room filled with gas cylinders, and Laurie and Dr. Loomis both open them all, and then she runs at the behest of Loomis, who then lights a lighter, exploding the whole room, killing himself along with Michael. The movie ends with reporters and first responders on the scene, while Laurie is being taken to a different hospital. The end.
Well, all right. Let's go ahead and motor this boat along, shall we? So to start with, looks. Nico, how's this movie look?
I really like the vibes of it. In general, I think the setting worked really well considering the pacing of the movie. It felt much more intimate, or maybe not intimate, but just isolated than the first one. And I think that added to the sort of sense of terror. But in terms of the design, you know, Michael Myers looks fucking terrifying, just like he did the first time. And I don't really have any complaints, honestly. I think the movie's aged pretty well.
All right. I will say this one, for me at least, seemed to kind of turn things up a little bit, both in the violence and also in like the kind of sexuality stuff. I mean, I guess, well, no, I take it back. Because they did have a sex scene in the first one, didn't they? The one chick and her boyfriend, because doesn't like one of them get stabbed up on the door?
I think they have implied sex. I don't know if they have explicitly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. 'Cause he has the sheet on him.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I guess, I don't know. Maybe this one just had like a longer shot of, I'm trying to think of a nice word,
Of what?
titties.
Justin? Shot of what? Oh.
And it just, maybe that's just in my mind right now, so I'm thinking that way. But
Sure.
regardless,
Sure.
I like the way it looks, and I think that there's a little more in terms of like different scenes and settings than in the first one. Dan, looks for you?
I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I don't know that this necessarily falls into looks specifically, but I thought some of the kills were kind of creative. Some of them,
Yeah, of
I
course
don't know.
it looks.
But
Yeah.
there were a couple of good ones that I enjoyed and thought they looked cool.
Indeed. Now, why don't you keep tracking here with the sound? First off, we get a little bit of like a, kind of like almost like a remix of Michael Myers' theme in this one. It's like a different sound. It's almost like they picked a different fucking instrument in the MIDI almost. What'd you think about the inclusion of the theme in this one as well as the other general sounds?
I mean, it makes sense. You know, the Halloween Michael Myers theme song is classic, you know, and
Yeah.
Fucking
of
bombs.
course I would have been disappointed if they hadn't kind of referenced that at all. And I mean, a lot of the soundtrack sounds very Halloween, very similar to like the original one, like what you would expect, I guess.
Yeah.
And the movie in general sounds good as well. But the one thing I didn't really like is near the end when they're like opening the canisters. First of all, this doesn't make any fucking sense how Michael Myers gets shot in both eyes. And then it's just like now can't see, I guess. Like he's totally fine. He just can't see. So he's like covering his eyes and he's like swiping his arm around with a knife. And you just hear for like, what, 3 minutes or something? And I was like, all right, shit, I get it. Okay, all right, we're going, I get it. So that got a little annoying to me anyways. But other than that,
My
like,
dude just cast sword rain.
yeah. But I mean, I thought overall this sounded pretty good.
So, Nico, how was the sound to you?
Personally, I think the soundtrack fucking bumps.
Yeah.
I think it sounds really, really good. And I think this was a really great interpretation of the original from Carpenter. Like this sounds like just sort of the next like evolution of it, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's one thing about Carpenter that not a lot of people put respect on sometimes. Dude has a pretty heavy hand in the music side of a lot of his films.
Yeah.
And I mean, even now, like he just dropped a track like maybe a week or two ago from time of recording. So it's definitely, he definitely.
With NBA Youngboy.
I mean, hey, we talked about it before. He did have a track with Churches. So.
With who?
Churches.
Churches. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I got to bring this one to the table here. First off, this is like a direct sequel. When I mean direct sequel, I mean they just pick up right where the last movie left off, right?
Like Friday the 13th part 3?
2 or 3?
Both.
Well,
no,
really?
3.
Well, 3, because 3 picks up like right at the end of 2.
Yeah.
I do like that they weren't so self-indulgent isn't the right word, but I do like that it sort of began in media res as opposed to having a just really lengthy flashback.
Yes.
I appreciate that much, much, much more now that we've ironically seen 3 of the Fridays, but only 2 of the Halloweens.
Well, we've had a lot more Fridays than Halloweens that we've been doing this pod.
You believe in Fridays? Fucking woke liberal cuck.
Wow.
Ayo. Save that for the end. But no, I will say this.
That escalated quickly. Just like that guy getting blown the fuck up.
We'll talk about that. I really want to talk about that. But the fact that this movie starts off right where the last one ends, I almost expected a lot more to happen than really happened in the movie. Because to make it really simple, Laurie gets to the hospital, Michael goes to the hospital, kills everyone. Loomis shows up, he kills himself, he kills Michael, Laurie escapes, the end. That's literally what happens in this movie. And I realize that's extremely reductionist, but I felt like that much didn't really happen in this movie. How about you guys?
No, I agree. I mean, there's not really a lot of plot, but I kind of enjoyed that. Like to me, it was kind of nice that we got 2 or 3 minutes of the last movie.
Right.
And then he just starts killing. And like the movie just kind of like jumps right in and like it felt like a continuation of the first one rather than this might sound dumb, but rather than a sequel necessarily. It just felt like a part 2 of that, you know?
I really agree with that, yeah.
So also, and kind of as we're talking about, you mentioned, like Michael coming through and killing everyone. So Michael Myers is inhuman. And I guess we kind of learned that in the last one because he'd been stabbed, I think. He'd been shot as well and just kept trucking. But this is the one where he really takes like some inhuman type injuries, like shot 6 times, keeps it moving, gets, like shot again, keeps it moving. He doesn't even really bleed. So how do you feel about the solidification of Michael Myers as an inhuman presence rather than just an extremely tough person? Because he's only ever been quoted as he was a child that was extremely deranged, taken to a mental asylum, broke out. Nowhere along the line is he superhuman.
Wolverine.
But now he is. And how do you like that?
I kind of like it just because it gives more of a gravitas to Michael Myers that as of yet I don't think Jason or Freddy has necessarily, if we're talking about the sort of big 3 slasher, big 4, I don't know how many big there are, big slasher icons.
Interesting.
Shut up, Justin.
Well, no. I was just thinking about Dan thinking about this. And Dan, what do you think about this?
Well, I think about you thinking about me thinking about this. I think I didn't really like it personally. I feel like not that like every time he got shot had to be like extremely realistic or anything, but I feel like I could only suspend my disbelief so much. And when he gets fucking riddled with bullets and then shot in the head twice.
Riddle me this, Batman.
Like, I feel like it was just a little much. Like, I don't know. I would have preferred it to be like a little bit more like Jason, where like, yo, I'm a big dude. I can take a bunch of hits,
Yeah.
but I still maybe get injured or something, or I don't know. I feel the effects somehow. But I feel like it was just a little too much.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. As far as I go, I'm a sucker for things having like a supernatural or spiritual root. And if they were going to have him be quasi superhuman or something, extra human, whatever, they should have just run with it. You know what I mean? Like,
True. Yeah.
they should have just had like maybe a scene with like, I don't know, like a witch or something. Like Michael Myers is imbued with the spirit of the devil or some shit. Like, because Loomis multiple times, he's not human. Like, how do you know that, dude? You've been watching this man eat shit and piss for like 20 something years and now he's not human? Like, I don't know. Also, a dude who never lifted could not possibly be that jacked. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, he didn't move at all for years. Okay, he'd be pretty kind of, I don't know. I feel like he'd be a little bit of a skinnier dude. This man is so powerful that, and this is kind of one of the other inconsistencies I wanted to talk about. He's so powerful. He stabs a nurse in the shoulder with a scalpel and is able to, with one hand, lift her up. Do you realize how ludicrous a feat of strength that is?
And also
Move,
just
bitch.
physically impossible.
Yeah, she also dies, which, how? But more so than that, that's impossible. But this movie does have a couple leaps of logic. I mean, Nico, you talked about Nurse Alves bleeding out already. I mean, what? That doesn't seem like something Michael Myers would do?
No, Michael Myers seems much more up close and personal, which is why his weapon of choice is just like some variation on a fucking knife. Like, I don't see Michael Myers out here with a fucking crossbow with a scope on it or some shit. Like, who's the real hunter now, motherfuckers?
That would be very
Like,
effective.
It would be extremely given his ludicrously slow pace, yes, but unfortunately he just hasn't quite gotten around to the throw part of the plan yet, just stab.
Dan, I mean, there's a couple other inconsistencies here as well. I mean, there's one where like everyone straight up walks past Laurie in a parking lot, and
Yeah.
for some reason she can't summon up the strength to scream until the second everyone goes inside, then she can scream.
Mm-hmm. That, and kind of alongside the like Michael Myers being superhuman part,
Yeah.
I understand that he is, a slow moving, menacing figure, and they, do that to be menacing.
Right.
But there are so many times where I was like, dude, just walk a little bit faster, or like, put a little pep in your step or something, man. Because like, it doesn't make sense to me how he can decide to just like go to elementary school and then back in like no time. He fucking teleports there or something like that. But then there's this scene where he's chasing Laurie and she's like trying to get to the elevator and the elevator's like taking forever to get down, and then it opens and he's just fucking casually walking in the park, just slow ass walk into there, and oops, he doesn't get to the elevator in time. And it's like, bro, if you had walked a tiny bit faster, you would have killed her. Like, it would, no problem. Or there's a scene where she like climbs up out of like a little window that's a little taller or something, and it's just out of reach for him. So like, you see her like feet going through the window and he just reaches up and starts like swinging a knife back and forth. But I'm like, no, any person would like, he could have done a million other, he could have jumped half of a step, like 6 inches, and stabbed her. Like, any number of things could have happened. But it's just weird to me how sometimes they play him like a zombie, and then other times there's things that like are superhuman and super speed to
Yeah.
go to one place to another or whatever, and it just feels kind of weird to me sometimes.
No, that's really true. That's really true, especially when you consider, for example, scenes from like the first movie where like Laurie saw him when she like over by the laundry, and then the phone rings and she looks back and he's gone. Like, what did he like sprint away because he moves like 1 mile an hour? So
Yeah.
how does he do all that appear, disappear stuff from the first movie? But I now also want to ask, Laurie and Loomis in this one, they had very interesting roles. For the most part, Laurie was not really anything. Like, she goes to the hospital to get sedated, to try to escape. I felt like her role in this one wasn't as important as it was in the first one, even though this one has the revelation of her being Michael's sister. What did you guys think about her and also Loomis?
I thought that it was a little bit predictable that she would end up as Michael Myers' sister, but at the same time, it also seems just like completely out of nowhere in some kind of way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, narratologically, it makes sense, but like, that was a kind of a wicked, unnecessary pull, I think.
I was going to say there's one potential saving grace, and I'll say it now because there's no reason not to. I was reading, and this movie was actually intended to be the conclusion of Michael Myers and Laurie.
Oh, okay. In that case, then I more buy it, yeah.
At some point it was, at least. And I guess that would answer the question of why did Michael Myers return to Haddonfield? I guess to kill his sister.
Mm-hmm.
I always took it as he was just finishing off the last one who got away from his first, like, you know, person's family that he killed, which is, you know, his own, I guess.
Dan, thoughts on Loomis?
I didn't really like Loomis as much as I did in the first one. And I think I remember us in our first review talking about, or the first movie's review, where we talk about how Loomis is just sort of, there's a point where he just sort of exposition dumps a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he did that once or twice in this movie. And then also he just seems kind of like unhinged sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can understand some of the unhingedness, but sometimes I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. Like you mentioned before, when he just like shoots out the window, he's just like, don't you guys know where the fire warning shot, pow. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? Wait, what? And I don't know. I didn't really like him as much. In the first one, I thought even...
Yo, weren't they in a fucking neighborhood when that happened too?
Yeah. Yeah, they're just driving down a neighborhood road.
Yeah, he could have like fucking killed someone again.
Yeah.
Yo, again, this man was about to like bust shots on this like teenager because it was just like, oh, he's got a mask. Is it? And then all of a sudden, the best part is after that happens, he's like, I actually don't think that's Michael Myers, guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? But also consider this. You know that the U.S. Marshal shows up along with his assistant, right? And the assistant tells this backstory of how like, or coworker maybe, I don't know, of how like there was the government and the governor, and then the governor authorized like the U.S. Marshal and this whole fucking backstory. All this took place in like the space of like an hour, dog, because
that's true.
All of this happens in the same night.
Yeah.
Like Laurie started babysitting, right? She was babysitting. Everything was going fine. Like the whole first movie happened in one night. And then she goes to the hospital and it keeps going. And it's like, dude, how did you get all these people here? How did you even know that Loomis came? What? Like, how did you know any of this? Remember, when Loomis left the asylum, all of the patients were out because Michael had let all of them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're telling me Loomis was more of a priority than handling all that. And they handled all that how fast? So I'm like, yeah,
Great
no way.
goddamn,
No
I
way.
guess.
No way. I don't buy into that so much. But, you know, and I don't want to seem like we're ragging on it, but one last thing I do have to touch on here. That whole thing about Michael going to the elementary school, Nico, I feel like I need to ask you, what the fuck?
It felt like some weird alternate timeline shit that we were seeing back in Silent Hill. Like, there was the timeline where we were watching everything happening right now, and then there was this little fucking, you know, side story, guidance chapter with the fucking elementary
That is
school.
true. That is actually true.
Like, it was DLC to its own movie.
Dan, your thoughts of the elementary school?
Yeah, it felt really out of place. And I thought that they were going to like, that Michael didn't do that, but they were going to investigate that like it was Michael and go on like a chase or something on that. And oh shit, that wasn't Michael or something. And apparently it was just Michael. He must have done that before Halloween. Well, before the main events of Halloween 1, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, no, he couldn't have, because they got a call saying someone saw him there.
Right, but I mean, I'm thinking it had to be before Halloween 2 started at some point.
But
'Cause
when?
I don't know. Well, when could he have done it now?
I don't know. I mean, when? There's no time.
Bro,
There's no time. You're right.
At the rate this
was
man
no
snail
way.
walks, to get to that hospital would have taken fucking forever, bro.
I don't know.
To say nothing about what traffic might have been like.
What if he just like stood outside for a taxi? Just maybe he gets like taxis to places, and
Maybe.
that's how he moves so fast.
But he doesn't speak. He would just get in the car and what, point?
Maybe he has it like written out. Clearly, he writes. So maybe he
Yeah.
just has it like written out.
I guess,
He
yeah.
also murders mad people. What you don't see is when he like loots them and gets all their money.
Maybe he steals a car and maybe he drives.
That too.
Or he like
Maybe-
rides a bike or something around the neighborhood.
One of those with the big wheel in the front, the tiny one in the back.
Yeah.
I got to speak on this real quick. Yo, could we go back real quick to the scene where the one kid gets fucking exploded by the cop?
Sure. Absolutely.
And
Oh my
to paint the
God.
scene, audience, like this kid is just like walking down the street. He's like 17, but he's like walking down the street and he's wearing a mask and they think he's Michael Myers at first. So Loomis and I think like the sheriff pop out their car and they're about to confront him. Like Loomis is about to brandish his gun. And then out of nowhere, a police car comes speeding down, connects this kid, pins him against another car, and they explode. And like the other officer manages to get out, but like this dude is like turbo dead. Like he's so messed up, even his dental records are like difficult to identify. And I'm just like, why? Why did this happen? And the other officer's like, I'm like, dude, are you drunk? Like, what's going on? Like, why were you going this fast in a neighborhood? There's no emergency. Nothing is pressing. What's going on?
I wouldn't say there's no emergency.
Well, I'm
There's
saying
a
like,
fucking killer running
There's
around.
very clearly an
murdering
emergency.
a lot of people.
okay, well, he too is adding to the problem. So
You're not wrong there, but there's
Yeah.
definitely an emergency.
I don't know. And real quick, neither of you two have seen Halloween 3, right?
Right.
No.
Okay. So,
Wait, there's a sequel? He's still alive?
well, I don't want to say anything, no spoilers, but I want you to contemplate the idea of what if you heard that the idea was, because this was an idea thrown around, that the Halloween series or movies could move past Michael Myers. That they were going to be like kind of like almost an anthology. Like there'd be Halloween and each one would tell a different story. So Halloween 1 and 2, the story of Michael Myers and Laurie. Halloween 3, the story of someone else. Halloween 4,
I like
the story
that.
of someone else.
I like that.
Just to have
Honestly.
like a recurring seasonal kind of thing. And maybe one wouldn't happen every year, but around Halloween time, you'd have one of those to watch every now and again.
Yeah, that'd be rad as hell. I mean, hey, we already have a ton of them anyway, so.
Speaking of horror anthologies, I read that there's going to be a new Trick or Treat.
Oh, shit. You serious?
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The first one is like a bona fide classic, to be honest.
Yeah, for real.
In any case.
Still waiting for one of you two to throw down the gauntlet on the fucking accent voice change challenge.
Oh, see,
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
do it now for Halloween, but I'm going to do it for Christmas. I'm going to do a Santa voice for the entire review.
Okay, bet.
What is a Santa
Bet.
voice? Can you preview that for me?
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho.
Okay.
So, the people on the pole. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I'm looking forward to that. All right. All right.
And
Yeah.
I'll put it on my Christmas cheer. So, maybe we'll watch
We
Avalanche
should
Sharks
watch
after
a
one.
movie with nothing to do with Santa.
There you go. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here because it's time for the What Would You Do?
Uh-oh.
So let's say this. The three of us are hospital staff and we know the story. We've seen it on TV. We know that, Mike Myers is on the loose.
Can we actually pause there for a second? I thought it was wicked, just unbelievable that there was fucking no one at this hospital at
Yeah.
all?
I guess it must be a really sleepy,
Ever?
a really sleepy town. A really sleepy town.
Maybe it's like The Void, and it's like the last night the hospital
Was open?
is open, and they're moving to a new hospital. Maybe that's
Like,
what it is.
Yeah,
that was perhaps the most unbelievable part of this. Like, Michael just walking up and there's not a goddamn soul in the halls. Like, no one? Nary a janitor?
To be fair, I've been in hospitals like late at night and stuff like that, and there's really not anyone there. It really is like a ghost town, depending how late it is. Like, the patients are in their room, visiting hours are over, so no one's there. And it's like, doctors are also probably not there. You have like 1 or 2 on call, but not really that many people there. It's mostly nurses and stuff holding it down. So
I'm just thinking about hospitals in general. They need people to operate, you know?
yeah, I was saying late at night, trust me, it gets sparse.
Any nurses listening, tell me what hospitals are like at midnight. I want to know.
Hey, for real. Hey, I'll tap my cousin Barriana. And
please don't tap her.
well, I mean, you know, like for the info.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Barriana.
For the info, I'll be like, yo, listen, what's the deal?
Smoothie. It sounds like a smoothie. I'm sorry.
Hey, listen,
Barriana.
It is what it is. But so we're all on the hospital staff, and we know that like Mike Myers is on the prowl and whatnot. So if you know, and like Mike Myers starts murking people, and we got to defend ourselves. What's your plan of attack against Mike Myers in this hospital? How would you fight him off?
I mean, I would start by, we have varieties of flammable liquids. I would try and light them on fire.
Classic fire, because an explosion does kind of kill, air quotes, him. So maybe that. Dan, what's your thoughts?
I would have taken like a gas can, like a gas canister thing, and like blunt weapon kind of thing.
Oh, true.
Ooh,
but I also, once he's down, I think I would have applied like, I don't know, undead logic and like chopped his fucking head off, bro.
Hey, real talk.
Especially after I've seen him come back to life, if we get that far.
Yeah.
And then like, or like not die. Nah, his head's coming off. Come back from that bitch.
So let's say, who amongst the 3 of us is the one to spark the plan or the idea? That like, yo, we got to do something about Michael Myers. So who's the first one of us to encounter him or know he's in the building? Is it going to be me, you, Dan, or you, Nico? Who's the type of person to be like finding out the truth?
I feel like I would be the first one to know.
Yeah. Because what would you be? What would your job be? Let's say we can't be doctors. We're either janitorial or nurses or whatever else. What would you be? What do you think you'd be?
I'd be a fucking intern.
Okay, you're an intern. Okay, so you're like working at the desk maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be like the security guard on call, just like sitting in the office watching the TV monitors.
All right. I feel like I'd probably be one of the like, you know, just like night crew, cleaning crew type scenario situation. Like I'm just here because I need to make some bank.
I might be like a contractor, like fixing the electrical work.
Oh, true. That's a good one. I should.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyhow, so Dan, you find out, you're like, hey, listen, it is what it is. So you hit the 2 of us up. What do you tell us? Like, what's your message to him? You got to fuck up Michael Myers.
I would just text in all caps, "Caca!"
Oh no!
Oh no!
He hit with the bird call. Yo, listen, dear listeners, we have the bird call in the crew. Whenever someone goes like, "Caca!" that's how you know. That's how you know it's getting real, and we need all hands on deck.
It's true.
It's true. I would do the caca and then send you a screenshot of Persona 3 when you're doing like the
stomp out attack?
Stomp them out. Just
all
like
out
a screenshot
attacks.
of that all out attack.
Fair enough. So
that's all you need to know.
So I would say this: my weapon of choice against Michael Myers would more than likely be a sharp weapon, like what Dan was talking about. Because
I was not talking about a sharp weapon.
Well, you chop out his head, right?
Oh, afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. So like I would chop out like his hand, fingers, whatever else. Like, because if you think about it, Michael Myers' primary way of killing people is with his hands. He can't kick nobody. So if I could at least like take out his hands, and his hands are like, he's human as far as that goes. So because he gets his eye shot out, meaning he can get his hands cut off. So
yeah, okay, sure.
I would, just, and again, I may not always have a cutlass on me, but if you give me a matchstick, a lighter, a stapler, and a glue gun, I can make one pretty quick. So
out of a matchstick?
Well, you need the matchstick to light something on fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And I take it that's what the lighter's for.
No.
Oh, what are you using the lighter for?
So the lighter is going to be the handle of the cutlass.
This is for a...
How big is your cutlass, bro?
What?
So then
Like
what you
6
got to do is you
inches?
got to get a piece of metal. That's enough. I heard that was enough. So the whole point being is, you know, I make it work. I make it work. Okay, just don't worry about it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So
Okay.
Ain't nobody said anything.
I'm putting it out there. Okay, you seem like you had a problem. Okay, you seem like you had a problem right now. So
No problems here, boss.
So I think we got Michael Myers in this one. I think we'll mash him up. But you want to know who really mashed up Michael Myers? The
Who?
fucking critics. Give me a
Oof.
guess, my comrades in arms. What do you think the critics gave this movie? What's it on Rotten Tomatoes?
Given your reaction, I'm gonna guess like real low. I'm gonna say 42.
Thoughts,
Yeah,
Dan?
I was gonna go lower. I was gonna say like a 30.
It's a Halloween fucking miracle. Dan, right on the money.
Really?
30%
Okay.
on Rotten
Oh,
Tomatoes.
wow. Okay.
Damn.
This movie
Okay.
had one of the biggest falls from graces ever. The original is at a 96%
Wow.
fresh. This one is 30%. Audience a little more generous with a 63, but I really want to know your thoughts. So why don't you just tell me, you know, your score and what you thought about it? I guess I okay.
Go ahead.
I guess I can lead on this one. I think this one is kind of close to the leftovers of a really dope meal you had the night before. Like, you might have hit a restaurant, it was plated, and your meal was plated really nice and everything else like that. And like, you ate a bunch of it at the restaurant, but you took a doggy bag home because you're a cheap bastard like me, and you heated it up for lunch the next day. It's like, on your paper plate, it really doesn't look that hot. Yeah, there's a couple of the highlights from the night before, but you ate the best bits the night before. That's how I feel about it. And while I appreciate the continuity in the plot, this one feels, for me, bereft of a lot of the just mystery and initial terror of Michael Myers. Him sneaking up and taking his time. I feel like fast kills doesn't work for Michael Myers. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, I like the methodical nature of how he attacked every person that he did in the first movie. The body count in the first one was smaller, but I think the tension was higher for me. So I don't hate it though. I don't think his movie's horrible. I just think it's so average. So for me, this is a 65.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. It was one of those movies where when I watched it afterwards, I was like, oh, that was all right. And then talking about it, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
But if you can effectively turn your brain off and just watch it, I think it's relatively enjoyable. But I do think this movie stretches it a little too far to turn your brain off. Like, I think there's some points where I was just like, that doesn't make sense to me. But I'm right there with you, Justin. 65 for this one.
Nico.
I'm feeling a little bit nicer about it than y'all are, and I'm going to give it a 69.
Nice.
Okay.
I mean,
Nice.
I feel mostly the same way, but I had fun while I was watching this. It was really goofy at times, especially the part where the kid just gets turbo exploded out of nowhere like it's a fucking Michael Bay movie.
that was like the best scene in the movie, dog.
That was so just completely out of nowhere, but I loved it all the same. But yeah, the first one's a classic. I had fun with this one, but it's not as good.
Fair. So we recommending this one then.
Still, yeah.
I don't think so. I think mostly because I think that there's, especially in this era, there's so many other slashers that I'd recommend. Even if you want to stick with how this franchise, I feel like there's better ones, you know?
Of the three that we have seen the second of, so, you know, this Nightmare and Friday, which do you think has the strongest number two?
Friday.
Is Nightmare the one with the...
Johnny Depp.
Okay, yeah, and like dude goes out to like the bar randomly. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Friday as well.
Bad touch
Yeah,
teacher,
same.
yeah.
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 Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I think I agree. Friday, I think, is the strongest.
I think
same.
I think at the very least, Friday has the most entertainment factor. The second one, there's just a ton of people getting murked.
Yeah.
So
And a guy who talks like this the entire movie.
I forgot about that shit. Remember the biker gang? They run into a biker gang.
Oh yeah.
Shout outs to Friday too, y'all.
So, yeah. But, so this movie's not going to get recommended from us. You notice Justin didn't say whether or not he would recommend because he was making up his mind, but now he doesn't have to. So.
But would you, though?
No. Don't think I would.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, no recommendation for this one, no golden seal for this one. But don't let this cramp your style. If you have something you want to tell us about this or any other movie, hit us up. We're on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. Plus, you can check out everything we've done on our website, which is, of
All our
course,
crimes before man and God.
DOTDhorror.com. But till then, we wish everyone an extremely happy Halloween. Take care of yourselves tonight. If you had your party the previous weekend, previous night, whatever it is, we hope you took care of yourselves. Look out for one another. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.
You know, I just realized our abbreviation spells out do titty.
Sick.
What?
Do titty.
Do,
D-O-T-D.
titty.
Do titty.
Do
titty.
Damn. Real eyes do realize real lies, huh?
That's right.
That's right.